And live.
ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا إننا ذنوبنا كنا خيرا وكنا برحمتنا وكنا عذابها اللهم اغفرنا واغفرنا بالقرآن العظيم وبارك لنا في الآيات والذكر الحكيم وتقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم اللهم زينا بزينة القرآن وأكرمنا بكرامة القرآن وقنا من كل بلاء الدنيا وعذابها برحمة القرآن وادخلنا الجنة مع القرآن الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, sir. Pastor. Pastor, yeah? Yeah. Hello, pray. Papa God, I will tell you plenty thank you for this gathering this morning. Whatever thing we can do, so God, let you name be glorified. We commit this program to you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Come and take charge. So in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Alima, you want to take over a little, then I will come back to you.
Yes, okay. Good morning. If I can just ask Effie for stop the screen share for now. Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are coming to you from Sierra Leone and the United Kingdom. We thank you all for We would like to thank the Ministry of Social Welfare for granting us this opportunity for using the facilities in Freetown. We would like to also thank the Minister herself, Madam Honorable Bendu Dasama Kamara, who is our keynote speaker, for joining us this morning. And we would also like to take this opportunity to welcome all the faith leaders from different faiths in Sierra Leone joining us today, taking their time out of their busy schedules to be with us. We want to take this opportunity to thank them for being here and for being part of this day as we mark the UN declared 16 days of activism with a focus on women and girls, but also as an interfaith dialogue in exploring solutions in ending sexual, gender-based violence in Sierra Leone and many more. We have taken this opportunity because of the agenda of the government of Sierra Leone and the President, Dr. Mada Bio, Julius Mada Bio, who has taken upon himself to put on his agenda sexual gender-based violence as one of his key issues to address. And obviously we have seen throughout this year, he has addressed with his administration, addressed the issues, particularly around rape, particularly around support for victims of rape, particularly children of rape. We have seen the task force set aside for sexual gender-based violence in Sierra Leone, and the effort that his administration, particularly the Ministry for Gender and the Ministry for Social Welfare, in addressing and working closely with stakeholders, faith leaders, agencies alike, partners, and a wider range of stakeholders, including survivors, for the first time, survivors of gender-based violence, working with the government to come up with solutions. And today is just one of those opportunities that we are going to have to engage and to dialogue on what is very important. And hopefully, before I go off, and hopefully what we would also want to get from our faith leaders, faith actors, communities, the wider faith community, and everybody working within the context of sexual gender-based violence to come with the solutions, because we have seen over the years the leadership, the excellent leadership that faith leaders have shown. From combating the Ebola in 2016 to now, we have seen the immense work of faith leaders. We have seen the Christian faith, the Muslim faith, and today, for the first time, we have welcomed the Rastafarian. We have been in contact with Jewish communities, though a small community in Sierra Leone, but they are willing to be part of this discussion today. And this is something we greatly welcome, and we want to thank everybody. And I hope you all will stay and be part of this conference, be part of the solution, because we are going to have a workshop at the end where we really want to engage with those solutions. We want to capture them today so that the future girl child of Sierra Leone, with the efforts of the government and the efforts of faith leaders and other partners alike, will work together in tackling sexual gender-based violence, that never again in our generation that girls will be raped and women will be raped, and we will address the issue cut across the board with solutions from all angles. And for the first time, we are using technology. We are based in the United Kingdom, but we have managed to work together with the Sierra Leonean partners in bringing this conference. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank my own colleague, Reverend Martha Chikozi, who without her efforts, without her contribution, without her support, we will not be having this conference today. She's a woman I greatly respect and admire for her tremendous work in this field for over 25 years. She has been working alongside women and girls and men and boys in tackling violence, in tackling harmful traditions, in tackling SGBV. And today is just the start of many other opportunities that we will have to work together in making a difference. And just before I go, I know today we would also be joined by the gender-based violence advisor to the government of Boris Johnson, who will be speaking in sharing her experiences in working with African countries and leaders in addressing this issue. Once again, thank you everybody for joining us, and may God bless you, may God bless your family, and may God bless Sierra Leone. Now the event is open.
Thank you very much, Alima. And thank you to all our listeners that are listening to this wonderful conference today, a collaborative response to sexual gender-based violence by faith leaders. We want to now start with the first speaker, and I think the first speaker, is she ready there?
Yes, I am hoping Nimco is here, but if she's not, she was due to join us. So let's go and have a look. This is where technology is playing a part. However, I think let's go to whoever is on the Freetown side. She's not here with us yet, but she was due to start at 11. So if the prayers are over, but Reverend Martha, maybe let's talk together. What was behind your drive to have this event? Why are we doing this today?
Okay, so I want to let the people in the UK and around the world, in between a little Creole for our people, because we have a mixture of people with us here, physically present. Mixture, I mean, we have to go a little lower and maybe to our local language, if possible.
Okay.
I'll mix it.
Yes.
I hope it'll be fine. Okay, the reason behind the whole meeting for faith leaders to take action or to take lead. For the past 20 years, I believe in Sierra Leone, the faith leaders have been people with proactive steps, very, very vital in social economical, and even security matters. It's not just when they say come and pray, open and close prayer. The faith leaders have gone beyond that. The faith leaders are people who have hospitals, they have schools, they have farms, they have business centers, they have factories, you know, meaning that they are also supporting the welfare and well-being of people within society, and indirectly supporting or complementing any government in power. Any government, I mean, whether past, whether current, whether future government. So, in the past, they have also been involved in making sure we have peace. They have been there. Of course, that's why we got the interreligious that was part and that was formed many years ago. And not only that, they were also part of the mobilizing people when it was time for music. It was something like chicken box or what? They had to go out and take the lead. Again, they came out when it was time for Ebola. You know, when it was spreading so wide like fire, when the faith had made up their mind to say, no, enough is enough. They stood up strong and started spreading the message and making sure every of their membership were aware of the dangers of Ebola. Besides Ebola, we had the mudslide, and we had flooding, and now Corona. Most of the time, well, before or sometimes, and from other parts, whatever they might be doing that is a social issue or a welfare or a security issue, they will now forget about faith leaders. And faith leaders, whether you call them the Rastafari that is here representing, we have about 3 of them here. Right now, we have a lady among them. And the Muslim, we have Sheikh Bomba here and some other Muslim group. And we have the Hajjat, we have the pastor from the military. We have the military and the other faith. They are all here anyway. So these are people that have been actually, you know, pushing to make sure Sierra Leone is what it is. Sierra Leone is peaceful. Sierra Leone must be a peaceful place. We are talking about religious tolerance. When anything wants to spark out of the way, we call ourselves together to say we have one Sierra Leone. So we need to be very sure that we pay attention to faith leaders and bring them on board whenever we are doing anything of national concern. Whether you are talking about human security, you are talking about leadership, good governance, you are talking about gender-based, early marriage, teenage pregnancy. These are the people who will take the lead. And by the grace of God, I believe it will reduce drastically or radically, if I should say. So that is the reason why we are here today, for them, all of us together, to now take the lead. This is just like a platform to start, but we have to do more. It's a platform for us to start, but we have to do more than ever, because after today, we have to go district by district to make sure the message is hammered home. And with them, I want to say in no less a time, the whole country will really experience a great reduction on this issue they call SGBV of all kinds. So that is the reason why faith leaders are here today, and not only for today. And we have people from Caritas, you know, they are also people who have been doing things in many ways. Caritas is, of course, the Catholic angle of, they will tell you something about themselves, because I have to ask them to say something, you know. I don't want to say what I don't, you know, that might not be in line, but they have been people who actually have been doing developmental programs through the Reverend Father Conte for many years. For many years, we have been engaging in several different fronts, and I see the weight, I see the vitality, and I see that they are very relevant when it comes to every year's, not just prayer in programs, opening and closing prayer, no. But they are very relevant in every sphere of life to make sure sanity is brought to humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Martha Chikozi of Ted Woga, for that incredible opening. And sadly, our first speaker will be joining us later. But I want to take this opportunity to thank also the ministry, who has been doing incredible work around the support of survivors and victims of sexual gender-based violence. So whilst we are waiting on the next, I think we can call on our Is Madam Fatima Tadabo in the building?
She will be zooming from her office. They are trying to fix it, technology. So
Okay.
in between. But what I'm gonna do, I will want to ask one representative first. And first, I forgot. Our brother who you came in contact with is also here, Kodesila. He will have to say.
Yeah, yes, we can invite Fode, and thank you to Fode, who has made a lot of contact in the last 2 days. But Reverend, before we bring Fode, can we just have a little bit of a dialogue? Can you tell us what has been some of the challenges, obviously, in dealing with SGBV, which we are trying to sort of address today and coming up with solutions from a faith perspective? I know faith leaders over the years have been really helpful. But let me talk Pancreo, sorry, until we in England we did. Reverend Martha, I know say the work we now they do as faith leader in a salon over the year, una don't change boku life them of survivors of sexual gender-based violence. What do you get for tell we people them? Because sometimes they people don't know but understand say we get process them in place. We get the way where we work. So like now, one of the areas that where we look for work in partnership with other organizations, because faith they do this for quite a while now. Now for create safe space for Usai woman and girl picking and can go talk about the issue, particularly the issue of rape. We know say stigma there around rape. We know say sometimes they victim then they afraid for talk about rape, but we know say they can go na them mosque. We know say they can go na them church them. We also know much where they can go to their other faith there. So far, the predominant faith there where we know say they can go talk to na Christian and the Muslim faith. Waiting are some of the challenges here you encounter where we know say help is available. We know say place there for let them go. What do you get for let you go tell we fumble them?
Okay. First and foremost, we know say, as I don't say the religious people then, from all faith get their own role for play. One, now the issue of information first. Because when the person not aware of knowing say this not correct, they don't get the proper information, in-depth information of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Him now the cascade, or it get for now spread that message to other people around them. So all faith people in Aya today and in the past, number one, when they don't understand issues around whatever like the welfare and security of the human being, and especially the women and the children, and even the elderly or people with disability, because we know they left anybody behind. Today you will be an able person. Tomorrow, either one way or the other, you could be a disability person. People, because you never can tell. We don't see somebody where if they it become paralyzed, able to work and not to involved. But the other ways, then after we don't they spread the message, we also they engage the community for make sure that we get in different people that they work with, like the FSU, the family support units, where them can really go through them at because our family, well, if it is in a case within communities or within family or even homes, they can go into them matters there. So we work with them people there. We also they work with the Rainbow Center, where they right now cater because we get different leadership. They have that Rainbow Center. This time around, cater they have that one day. When them can really they take care of the person where they don't abuse one way or the other. And we also they work with the lawyers. We get lawyers then when they deal with legal issues. Some people then they can want to use power, they can want to use the money, and they can want to use the connection for let them go able for where they don't go do back to one person in maybe that person in where they don't do that back to info, get sababu, get nobody. They want master the case with whatever connection they get. We not correct. So the religious people then one way or the other go team up behind that person and say no, this person forget justice. Because that's the most important reason why I make today when I like a way say we they can't for no more. We know, but we get for can't green and say we already for work around the clock for let it still reduce. So justice, yes, we they walk around. And then the other thing I like a support. Sometimes we can do a lot of counseling, trauma healing and counseling, because you get for really make either the individual and also the family go through their process that they, because some of them can feel so bad, some of them can feel so, you know, I don't know, that they can shame, stigma and other things there. Look, 1 or 2 cases so we don't find out, say, some of them picking the air so where they can't do so, the other one go give poison before they clean, he kill himself because of them kind of thing. So you know, we get nobody will go to talk to them and then for them and say, no, we get processes then, we will go through and you get justice, you know. So we go get for make sure say we get, and then the other side are the issue of like the support, physical support, because again, for that person go to doctor or lawyer or any side, he need transportation, he need food, you know, he needs something, you know, even for the yes, it is true. Say that sometimes there is some doctor when a private hospital, and if you get to pay for the service, then definitely you get for make sure say this kind of bossing, we will get for join hand with them for see how we will help them. They will able to go through the process, whether a medical service, whether not go to the law, whether not go through the rainbow, whatever means and ways, forget to. So not to just say we just talk about it, don't do, but we give the psychosocial, we give the physical, and also the mission say we join them for letting get justice.
So thank you so much. I go talk pan Creole, then I go talk pan English, since we get some of we partners there, when our English speaking partners there, where they join we. But before you go, we get somebody where we can call for speak now. I know say we can always talk about this area of partnership. And in coming with this event up today, we work closely with a lot of partners them. But I want to make you call out with 4 partners there where, if not to be the support, we'll not for be able to put this event together. And this is one of the outcomes that we really want to achieve from this meeting here today, is for see how we all together, not just the effort of the government all the time, but we as civil societies, faith groups, actors, activists, grassroots, we get a very crucial part where we play in particularly transforming the pathways there where the government don't put in place. And I'm glad the way you mentioned the family support unit and the role of the Rainbow Center. But Reverend, you mind for called the organization them? So let's just talk by English before you come on. Reverend Martha, I know you mentioned. Yes, so I was just going to go to English now. Thank you so much for that statements that you've made. I know over the years we've worked with lots of partners, but in putting this event together, we had worked with 4 incredible organizations, and had it not been for their effort, we would not have been able to put together this event. Would you mind letting our audience and stakeholders present at this event today, who are these partners? Because one of the outcomes we would ideally want to achieve is the collaborative effort of civil society, faith groups, that would help to complement the efforts of the government, because we have seen the approaches are there. We just have to work with them. We all have a part to play in making this change, in addressing or tackling sexual, gender-based violence. Would you mind calling out these incredible organizations who have been there with us in the planning and execution of this event?
Thank you very much, Alima. Again, I would want to let everybody present here, because we have physical presence of people here from all faith, and women and young people, youth, male and women, you know, are here. So maybe you might not see all of them, but when we send you our photos, you might be able to see us, you know. I want everybody present in and those listening to me there, you know, to know that these are local NGOs, indigenous NGOs, who joined hands together to put this program in collaboration with the Ministry of the Social Welfare. And by the grace of God, before I forget, we have the third in command, if I'm not mistaken. You know, she is with us here, and she is the person actually we have been liaising with in flow and flow to make sure these things work. And she is no less a person but Madam Maria Tubangula. She is the chief of the social welfare ministry, and she is like the professional head who is pushing all of the activities, every activity Whether you talk about disability, you talk about the religious people, you talk about the COVID issue, whatever. She is like the spear, she's the center. And of course, she will have to talk to you. Madam Maria, you are most welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. So before you go,
yes.
Yes.
Yes, you want to say something?
No, I was just going to invite our next speaker now. So sorry, are you done calling out their name? Sorry.
No. I was just trying to acknowledge her because she's here and she has actually made it possible for us to get this wonderful, you know, enjoying this AC, enjoying this technology and the rest. Can we put this on? Can you please clap? Yes. Thank you so much.
She's enjoying the AC. I'm enjoying the radiator.
Okay, good. You know, so and then the local NGOs, I'll start from the fourth and come up. We have Sierra Leone and Women Married to Order Nationals, a local NGO. Salon Women Women Married to Order National. You know, so if you know any people married to Order National, feel free to join that group. We get the Female Society and Human Rights Forum. Them women they are the own work look at issues that they happen against women and girl in the salon. We also have the African Female Ministers and Christian Women Association. These there are a group of women they wait and they pray and they cancel and also they give them support. You know, just like when the Israeli women they said they for empower women them. That's why I said they give them financial support as well as the spiritual support. And then Ted Woga when a day they call Ted Woga. A lot of people know Ted Woga, but now Ted Woga when a thorough empowerment, education and development for women and girls in Africa when a day by the grace of God. So now them four local NGO I want to see this thing. Not to say we get any international funder or somebody fund this. Because some people go say, hey, they don't get money, oh, because that is so people are quick. When you make a small program, we say family law come together and discuss, they might be thinking, oh, this they don't get money, no, but this that we only really money that we put together. Therefore, we say, plus $1 at a time. That's woman when they talk about the way they call Alima. Now, in we or two, we all now we don't be 5 in partnership now. So in the over there, they help with the technology, help with all them printing for make them back enough money. Now clap for Alima. Clap for Alima. Alima is the darling. You know, now we do not get nobody gave us a dime from outside. So say this is what we are going to give to you, you know, for this program. So it is our own monies as women, local women here, you know, because we want to see this minutes reduce, our people come to zero. So that's why we did what we did and we came together and we continue to work together until we meet our God. Thank you so much, Alima. Back to you.
Thank you so much. But also we get the support, whether it's financial or not, but knowing say the ministry day behind we and the efforts of the government to enable small voices that like we come from the faith sector and from the grassroots, it's even more powerful than money itself. So we want to tell Una all thank you, we wanna come. But before
I mentioned them. Yeah, I mentioned them before. You know, that's why we are enjoying the AC and the rest.
Yes, and thanks to COVID, for when they use technology, we go get for be the next part of we activism work. But without further ado, for that we not go take much of our time because this is a jam-packed event. We can call now with next speaker. But before we do that, I been just want to give a brief description of this we speaker here for tell we fumble the way they salon who it be and why we they call them for can talk to we. I go now by English and for tell na udana this post senior. So we can call on Madam Sabine Nkosi, where na the Gender and Protection Unit lead na TIA Fund, where they coordinate TIA Fund, they work around FGMC, where stand for Female Genital Mutilation and Cutting Programs there at a global level. They do this work here for 7 years in the lead pan project management, technical advice on sexual and gender-based violence. From 2014 to 2018, he helped for coordinate the secretariat, where then call We Will Speak Out Coalition, when a global coalition of faith-based organizations them and individuals then committed to ending sexual violence. And we will now call on our next speaker, Madam Sabine Nkosi, who is the Acting Gender and Protection Unit Lead at TIA Fund, and who coordinates TIA Fund FGMC programs at local levels. She has over 7 years experience in leading project management and technical advice on sexual and gender-based violence. From 2014 to 2018, she coordinated the Secretariat for We Will Speak Out Coalition, a global coalition of faith-based organizations and individuals committed to ending sexual violence. Over to you, Madam Sabine. We would like you to tell our audience, as you are coming directly from the United Kingdom, and thank you so much for taking your time to joining us today. And we are so proud to have you amongst us. But we wanted to know, because we know Tearfund over the years have done incredible work with faith leaders from South Africa to Sierra Leone to other parts of the world. What are the cutting edge themes that our faith leaders present at this event today can incorporate in already what they're doing? We know over the years, the Sierra Leonean faith leaders have played a tremendous role in bringing about peace after the civil war in Sierra Leone. And we know crisis after crisis, during the Ebola crisis, faith leaders from all faiths, and in fact, it was the first time ever that we have seen true leadership in the realm of faith leaders in Africa addressing a pandemic, an epidemic such as Ebola. We are now going through the world's worst pandemic, COVID, and again, we are rising up to call on our faith leaders to address the issue of sexual gender-based violence. What would you like to say?
Thank you very much, Alima, and good morning to all the honorable guests and faith leaders. And it's just really good to be part of this conference. And it's just given me a real pleasure to really participate in this conference as we mark the start of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So I guess before I start, I'd like to really acknowledge these conference organizers. So the Reverend Martha Chigozie, the founder of Tegwoga, and also Alimatu Dimokene, who is the founder of A Girl at a Time in Sierra Leone, and also the support of the Ministry of Gender and Social Welfare. So thank you for convening this meeting, this conference, and making it possible for us to have this conversation and really allowing me to be part of this conversation. So you have asked me about the cross-cutting themes, but I would like to probably start a little bit and just think, sort of backward and talk about how I see faith leaders being agents of change, first of all, before we got to that, simply because of the experience that we have had in Tearfund. So as you know, today is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And we know that one in 3 women in the world will experience some form of violence in their lifetime. And that may come in different forms. It may be sexual violence, it may be physical violence, it may be both of those. And at Tearfund, we recognize that actually sexual and gender-based violence is rooted in gender inequality. That is the root cause of sexual and gender-based violence. And that is enabled by sort of unequal power between unequal power relations that exist between genders. So then why do we need to engage and equip faith leaders as agents of change and also allies in progressing gender equality? We know that faith is an important part of the lives of many people around the world, and certainly in Sierra Leone. And we know that belief systems around us, they influence and shape social norms, and those social norms can be around gender norms and the roles in the community, in families, and also values that are attached to it. So faith leaders as opinion leaders can play a really, really important role in shaping communities where women and girls can live lives which are free of violence. So speaking of some of the experiences that we have had in Tearfund over the last 6 years, so over the last 6 and 7 years, we have been working with the faith leaders to to really look at how can we journey with faith leaders, because I think that is a journey. It's a journey of transformation, because these issues of sexual and gender-based violence fully is about how we have been conditioned to behave. So we have been journeying with faith leaders over the past 6 years, and what our journey with them has demonstrated is that actually the faith leaders and even traditional leaders themselves can be real powerful agent of change in tackling sexual and gender-based violence. So in our addressing sexual and gender-based violence, what we do is that we prioritize really working with faith leaders and faith community members. And we have an approach that we call transforming masculinities. And this approach brings together scriptural reflections and discussions with faith leaders and also their congregants, and subjects such as gender are discussed, sexual and gender-based violence are discussed, masculinities, what does it mean to be a man, femininities, what does it mean to be a woman, and issues of power and status as well are discussed, because for there to be violence, there has to be an imbalance of power, right? So we have been able to have those conversations, and to have those conversations in the context of participants' faith and culture, because I think everything has to be contextual. So I know sometimes we talk about certain things and we say, okay, but these are happening over there. So what we're saying in Tear Fund is that actually we're making everything that we're doing contextual to the context that you're living in. And we have been doing some of this work in Sierra Leone, and started training faith leaders on this approach to really have these reflections. So from a Christian perspective, what does the Bible say about violence? What are the examples even of violence within the Bible, because those exist? And what does the Bible say about human life and the right to human dignity? So all these things we've been discussing. And as a result of that discussion, what we have seen is that faith leaders have been able to support survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, because they have been able to go on a journey where they have reflected themselves as people who have power in their community. How do we use the power that we have? How do we use the influence that we have? And then through that reflection, they've been able to say, actually, this is something that is wrong, and we need to be able to support survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. We have seen them also fight some of the stigma that survivors are faced, especially when they have been raped, and how sometimes rape victims can be subjected to stigma. So we have seen them really fight stigma. And also we have seen them ensuring that their place of worship, so their churches, their mosque, become places of refuge for survivors. So if we think about sort of the cross-cutting issues that you asked, and in particular COVID-19 and the role of faith, I think there are some real lessons that has been talked about earlier as well. There are some real lessons to be learned from health emergencies such as the Ebola crisis. And we saw within the crisis how faith leaders played a crucial role, an essential role in the social mobilization and the behavior change. So they were involved in the health messages, and they were very much integral part of their communities, which meant that they were respected, which meant that they were listened to. So therefore there had been some kind of impact. And also, I think something that I have seen very much in Sierra Leone, which is a testament to the country, is the ability to have an interfaith approach. So the importance of that interfaith approach, seeing Christians and Muslim faith leaders working together. And I think within the Ebola crisis, actually, they focused on what united them against the Ebola virus, right? So the conversations that they had prioritized how to address Ebola outbreak and sort of allow them to find similarities in their religious text and how to promote behavior change. So there is a powerful tool there. So the interfaith working is really key. So with the context of COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen the rise in violence against women during this pandemic. So we have seen a rise in domestic violence. We have seen a rise in female genital mutilation and cutting, and even in child marriage. And I think there is here, there's really an opportunity for faith leaders and faith communities to advocate for the needs of women and girls during this time, this crucial time. And that could mean providing, pastoral care and spiritual support. It can be about also, having this conversation which will prevent and reduce fear and stigma that is associated with having a positive, having a positive diagnosis, having COVID, and also the stigma that is associated with having suffered sexual and gender-based violence. And if we even go further, I think if we look at sort of issues of conflict and disasters, and someone has touched on it already, we know, so coming from Tear Fund, what we have learned is that actually when there is a conflict and there is a disaster, faith leaders are the first respondent to that, right? Because they are in their communities, they know what's happening in the community. So therefore, they're the people that people go to. They're the people that people go to for refuge, for health, for food. So they're the first respondent. So I think it's important that we recognize that power that they have, and really work with them. If we think about even issues of water and sanitation activities as well during this pandemic, COVID-19, we have seen how, again, messages in the churches or in mosque about the need to wash our hands so that we can be safe. So all of those things have been really important. So I would say, really, in conclusion, that we cannot ignore the reach and influence of faith leaders and faith communities, as they really can play a key role in influencing for change and in disseminating scriptural interpretations, because I think it's about interpretation as well. How do you interpret the holy text? So that they can sort of provide scriptural interpretations that prioritize the flourishing of both men and women and boys and girls. And this issue of sexual violence, let's remember that it's not a woman's issue, okay? It's an issue for everyone, because if one part of the community is not well, the whole community will not be well. So it's about prioritizing this interpretation of holy text that really talk about the well-being of both men and women. So I would say that we should really seek to work alongside faith leaders. That's my encouragement, that we should seek to equip faith leaders, because they sometimes, I think, from the experience that we have had, it's been really difficult for some of the people that we've worked with to have these really key discussions around sex, because it's taboo. So how do we then equip faith leaders to have this discussion? And I think we should also challenge them when necessary, so that women and girls' lives are equally valued. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sabine. I know you have a busy schedule and you were just off to another meeting, but before you go, I want to see if there's anybody in the audience that would like to ask a question, because I know, as you know, they travel. Some people came from up country, what we call in the provinces, to join us today. But I'm going to talk in Creole just in case we have anybody in the audience who does not speak English. Sabine, I want to tell you thank you for the great point here where you raise. I know say you're not busy posting and you get for can go to another meeting, and we tell you thank you where you able to for join we today. But before you go, I don't know if you don't mind for take one or two questions then, because as you know, Boku, we participants that we can today, particularly the faith leaders that we can join with today, maybe then we'll get a question where then go on for us, because I know say Tia Fund when I don't work for many years then a salon. You self don't go salon, you don't meet with Reverend Chikozi, you don't work with a few other partners that we linked with Tia Fund. So I go transfer now to English for the one that we know here English, because Sabina English speaker. And then if you get any question at the audience when I want to ask, do you wanna come up to Reverend, the Reverend go bring una come before the screen, make we go see you where they ask the question, so that we say where they England go see you, not to just the one in a salon. So Sabine, whilst we have getting people to think if they've got any questions to ask you. I know over the years, TFON has worked closely in Sierra Leone. You yourself have been to Sierra Leone, you've met Reverend Martha, you've worked with other organizations, not just the TFON organization. What I really would like to ask, I know we're going to have a joint statement, and this is something even a few days ago, the United Kingdom Foreign Office and Development Office has come up with a brilliant joint statement from faith leaders in what they see could be the future of solutions in addressing sexual violence, particularly sexual violence in conflict. Now, Sierra Leone is no longer in conflict. However, last year we had our president declare a state of emergency. And in doing that, he has set out his agenda in actually addressing it. For the first time, we're actually seeing steps being taken from the Ministry for Gender, Ministry for Social Welfare. We have the Family Support Unit who fully equipped. We now are seeing confidence for the first time as an advocate working with victims. In my case, we are seeing some confidence amongst victims coming forward and seeking help. We know there are challenges, we know there are concerns, but what can sort of tools, best practice that over the years that you have worked with that we can adopt, you know, in coming up with solutions in addressing this issue of sexual gender-based violence?
Thank you again, Alimatu. So I think this issue of sexual and gender-based violence is very difficult. It's very contentious. It's very heavy. And one of the success of the work that we have been doing really is that as we work with faith leaders, we also prioritize the voices of survivors. So for us, it's not about just working with faith leaders, but at the heart of our work is survivor voices. So what do survivors want to happen? How do they want to see a change? And how can they, I suppose, hold faith leaders accountable? Because many of the survivors go to these places of worship and they want to be in those places of worship and they want to feel safe. So what we have been really seeing is a sort of a partnership, I would say, a partnership between faith leaders and survivors. So those who have been suffering that violence and faith leaders coming together and having a dialogue and sort of come up with the tangible plans for themselves, for faith leaders to listen and for survivors to say, this is what we want. And that is an example that I can give you, for instance, in South Africa. In South Africa, when we worked in South Africa, we started working with a group of women through peer support groups. And that is something that we've also started in Sierra Leone, and Reverend Martha has been part of that process, really help us in that process. And as women who have suffered such violence came to heal, they also felt that they needed to tell their faith leaders what needs to be done to change this. And we have seen women and faith leaders going to government, policymakers to say, this is what we've been doing together. This is what we suggest needs to be happening in order for this violence to really stop in our community. So I would say partnership is very important, especially faith leaders, between faith leaders and survivors. The other thing that I keep stressing as well is that it's important to recognize that all of us are learning in this journey, and all of us need to be transformed because we've been socialized to think in a certain way. So what we encourage really is sort of a personal reflection around the powers that we hold, either as faith leaders or even as men or as women, which contribute to violence in our community. So it's about changing perspective and sort of imagining, I suppose, a new way of living, a life where women and girls are not subjected to any more violence. So really, I would say partnership between survivors and faith leaders, but also equipping ourselves who are doing the work to be able to imagine a new future.
Thank you so much, Sabine. Thank you for that. I know you're about to go now. What an opportunity has been for your guidance, in fact, in putting this event together. Because I think sometimes what we are lacking is that technical knowledge, the expertise in doing this work. So I'll just transfer again to Creole. Sabine, we want to take this opportunity for tell you thank you, because yourself now one policy we don't work with today, and more so because like we will not get the technical expertise, you don't share your technical expertise, we don't help with for put this event together. So we want to tell you thank you, and I know say you get for go now. So have a wonderful day. Au revoir. Bon.
Au revoir. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, so I will now go to my colleague, Reverend Chikozi. If you can come back to the floor. I don't know if, yes, you're there. So, Reverend, before we because I know say you want for bring we speakers them from the different faiths them. Now, one unique thing where I learned from working with you in the past few weeks, now this really unity amongst faiths and the body of faith in talking about really, really difficult issues them. I know when they sit down, they usually in London, yeah, where they work with faith leader them, it's very discreet. They either goes on site, you know, sometimes a day we can either go away from the actual facility themselves. But I did learn a lot from Sierra Leone, and I did learn a lot in terms of the response of the faith community them. So I know say they can call a few. So before you call the first one, I want to let you tell me why you they call them and whose part them play for make this day happen. And obviously we get for can pick them brain back later on the workshop, because we really want to put these tangible actions there where faith leader and the GUI for let we go come up with something. I know say part of the outcome of this event, we want also for the Gona there, provinces there, upline, who say really the work day, because I know say Freetown we don't address beaucoup the issue. So tell me waiting you they can call we for the next speaker for come forward, waiting at this in team. But before you do that, I'll go now per English, because we get English people there where they watch me right now. If any faith organization they una they on Facebook, una can go look on a girl at a time. Because again, another way down there for let we showcase the important work where we faith groups and actors that they do in a salon. So they can't go into English now. So Reverend Martha, working with you over the few weeks, I have learned so much. And one important thing that I've learned is the unity amongst the body of faith. The willingness of faith leaders to come together and talk about really challenging topics. topics I wouldn't have felt comfortable talking with here in the UK, but you have made it so easy for me to do that. I know you're about to call some of these people that you have worked with in terms of the faith leaders themselves. But before you call your faith leader, I want you to tell us why and the importance, because it's so important that we emphasize on the importance of leadership in our faith leaders. You know, before you call that individual, I want you to tell us the role they play. Two of our speakers, Nimko Ali and Dr. Anne-Marie, are running a little bit late. So let's use this opportunity to get to know these individuals. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Halima. Again, I want to say first and foremost, thank you again. You know, I want to say our faith leaders need to be part and parcel of what they call 16 days of activism. A lot of people don't even know what is 16 days of activism when it comes to faith leaders. They know other things, they don't know what this is all about. And today being the first day and the opening of the 16 days of activism, which is going to talk about the lots of violations that have been taking place under female, gender, and children across the globe. Not only in Africa, not only in Sierra Leone, but in our own context, we know that we have the culture and other norms that have been encouraging us to say, let we be here. How for do, let we be here. You look at the workplace, we have a military lady here, you know, from the military, and of course she's in a very nice, beautiful uniform. I love to see that, you know, and then we have our military men too. The police, one or two are in overnight, because I don't know why, but anyway, but the others, you know, are also here with us who are from other one or two institutions, like the immigration. So, and then we have women from SLAFWA, which are community women, but very powerful women. Powerful women. Can you clap for yourself, SLAFWA women? Yes, powerful women. These are women that relate in their community when it comes to conflicts, when it comes to security, when it comes to anything. So we don't need to underrate, you know, the female gender. So the more reason why they are important, because I know they have access to all the people in the community. Our Rastafarian man here, with their Saturday program, they will now sit and talk to hundreds of people, and they are able to pass the message. Am I correct, sir? They are able to pass the message. We even have one of you among us. Do you know that I'm a singer as well? You don't know. I have one of my female musicians here who is part of us here. You know, so I don't female musician in Sierra Leone. I'm a gospel singer, don't mind me, you know. But also we sing national issues as well. But my main focus is gospel and issues around nation building. So she is here, and of course, she is. Hey, say hi to parents. So, you know, she's here with me, and she's from the Rastafarian group. So we are inclusive, we work in inclusiveness with all walks of life. So we know
Reverend Martha, before I stop you, we really want to see them, because we are having people asking on Facebook, because some people say this is the first time we have heard the community from the Rastafari, and we want to give them the spot.
Yes, Warren. Warren, can you please come?
Good morning, ma. What is your name? And tell us a little bit about your faith. Why was it important for you to be with us today? And this is actually an honor, because gender-based violence, according to somebody from the Rastafarian community on Facebook, says, for we in the Rastafarian community in Sierra Leone, we do not accept gender-based violence because it is against the natural spirituality. So without taking your time, could you tell us a little bit, because this is an opportunity for us to learn and share the best of our faith. Every faith we know is good.
Okay, my name is Ibrit Banaisi Bangura. I'm a musician and also a journalist, and I'm representing the Rastafari movement. You know, as we the Rasta them, we believe in spirituality, and talking about spirituality, we know say violence is not something where they against with norms and with tradition. So like this day today where we celebrate the Day Against Violence for we women. It's nice for see all religion them for them together and see how we set the map out issues them for tap violence. And in that light, we know that violence doesn't only mean rape. There are a lot of ways that women can be violated, you know. So we are here today to see and map out some of these issues that are affecting women and girls in terms of going against violating their body, violating their rights, you know, their norms and their culture per se. So we the Rasta people, we just believe say, one, we know for tap woman in rights, we know for beat woman, we know for cross woman, we know for tap woman for the thing where you know say, yes, this thing will make it happen, this thing will make it develop, especially empowering the woman then. You know, because if we the woman they all empower ourselves, definitely we know what we be picking for married quick one. We go able to settle the own self, find one. Even if we be a single mother, you know, we can able to take care of the picking and they come out better one. But at the end of the day, you know, without we having this husband, men around us, definitely there's a heart for parents to just give their girl child for early marriage, especially talking about culture and tradition, you know, because some of our people just believe that these are cultures, we used to have it before, we used to give our girls for early marriage so that they will not mislead themselves by tampering themselves with boys, going around, trying to just damage their future like that. So we are here today as a Rastafari faith to say that our own faith, our own religion, we always preach against violence against women and girls.
Thank you very much. In addition to what my sister just said here, I'm the one that sent the post on Facebook. You know, Rastafari will believe on spirituality. And this spirituality, we believe that God exists everywhere as far as we are nature. We are a creation, there is a creator that is responsible for that creation. And as a Rastafari community, we don't accept gender-based violence. You know why? Because in spirituality, even the plants, we have respect for the plants. We have respect for the animals. Because in our culture, we don't use animal as food in our culture. We don't eat blood. We don't eat everything that is made from natural creation. So when it comes to gender-based violence, why I say we don't accept it, because it's against our own culture, which this our culture is our life. And this our life is our God. And we believe that God is inside us. So if somebody that is closer to you is existing, for we as the Father, we know that God is existing in the flesh form. So it's forbidden for you to do a gender-based violence, on somebody that you know that is existing in the form of flesh. You know, we man here, or human being for general, we are here manifesting the flesh of God, because God is just a spirit here and existing inside me. And for we as head of creation from the creator, we are here to protect plants, animals, life, and everything else. So when we say we don't believe on gender-based violence, even in our prayer meeting, we don't separate. We always stay closer. As you see, we stand together here. We always stay closer in our prayer service. Because we believe, you see the ark that I'm carrying, this is male and female. So this is the agreement and the seal of David. When you see the Rastaman did like this, it tells you, talking about the male and female. And this is the biggest covenant and seal and agreement. You know, the pyramid is two. When you put it up for there, it's top. And when it's on the down, it's down. So the top there is representing the female, and the bottom there is, the top there is representing the male, and the bottom there is representing the female. So you see, so with this agreement, with this seals and concrete, we did not accepting the gender-based violence, because we accept natural spirituality to exist and continually. And also, I'm happy Maroon, a musician.
Thank you.
And I want everybody to know that women are the conceivers, the producers, and the benders of life. So let's respect them. Love to everyone.
So
Now, before you go, don't go away. And please come back. Before you go, one question, Reverend, before you go, because somebody has just messaged that they wanted to learn a little bit more. Somebody has just messaged us that they really want to learn about what Rastafarian is. And given that this is a global conference, because we are here in the United Kingdom, where Rastafarian is one of the faith that actually is being protected, just like the Jewish faith is highly protected. Alek will talk about what Rastafarian say about woman and man and the role and responsibility, the gender role. This is something faith has actually been really good at representing unity, where I don't see so important na salon. Because really we want for use una, we want for get for learn and understand from una, something where nobody not be know about. And this is the blessing of the kind meeting here. What you una get for we people there, especially we not understand the Rastafarian faith. We for many years, una don't get the faith since the time of Solomon. Rastafarians have been around since the time of Solomon in the Bible, but people always say we don't know what Rastafarians are about. So tell we please, what you una want for let we take away from una faith, where we go embrace and respect.
Okay, the first thing first I would say discrimination. You know, we all are one. And we talk about faith, now wait till we believe. We need for the accept Rasta people them now school, with homes, offices, and everywhere.
And thank you very much. I know this is an opportunity for me to teach others as we maintain, so we are teachers of the world. Simply like what you look do the same immediately. It's the only one left in Jack Nation. So nobody can stop Rasta. And Rastafari is ethical thing. It's beyond man reasoning because it's something that is spiritual. And the Rastafari we are talking about is even beyond Solomon. You know, we always collect the Bible as a reference and history book for Rasta. When we talk about Rasta, it exists before Solomon because Rasta is protecting the ancient of days of spirituality. You know, when we are protecting the ancient days of spirituality, it seems that we are talking about love. And the ancient of days, there was abundance of love. Example in my continent, which I stay here, Africa. In Africa, because of we love and kindness we have, ancient of days, that is why the people come inside, they take our kindness for weakness and they call us savages. Wow. So we use Rastafari to emancipate our own life and our spiritual belief so we can have the powerful connectivity with our God, the creator of the creation. So if we have this powerful thing, we have to see God in our blackness and our black perspective. Because when we see God in our blackness and our black perspective, we know that we are communicating. For example, let me make it simple. If my father keep on listening about Limba, I used to call him Kanu Masala. Then I come again another day, I said, hey, Jehovah. That I'm not communicating. So we believe in the name of to see God ourselves, and we are representing God in the flesh world. So at this point, we want to use this opportunity to teach others so accepting Rastafari. Because accepting Rastafari is like you're accepting the rule of creation and you're accepting the existence of God to live on earth. Remember, the Bible said there in Genesis or Exodus 20, the people don't want to see God on earth. That is why they asked Moses to be the communicator between them and God. But for we want to see God and we accepting God to be on earth. That is why we proclaiming Rastafari to be the way of life for every individual to become a natural spirituality and a representative of God in this life.
The Rastafari movement is a movement that one and all to respect, love, preserve humanity.
Thank you so much. So I hope so una go stay with we, una not go yet, because we get the workshop. Reverend Martha, over to you, Reverend.
Yes.
All day,
To ask a question. Well, we're not in Korea this now, so it's like a just group meeting because a workshop is something different. When you say workshop, people are expecting monies, they're expecting other things. So like this is a family meeting after. So a group.
Sorry, we call it activity.
Activity or exercise.
Activity.
You know, just an exercise that we'll be doing. All right, so quickly, I go want thank you so much. Now, clap for brothers then. You might not clap for them. Thank you so much. Thank you, my sister. You don't think I'm women musician. And I'm a daughter, so if you're not jealous, I'm a big daughter. All right. So on a serious note, back to the whole thing, we are all one, and we all get responsibility in addressing gender-based violence, domestic violence, all forms of violence and abuse or neglect, whether emotionally, economically, physically, in any form, in any shape, right? So quickly, one for you, just in 2 minutes, because I know say Sheikh Komba, no, we don't go. Not to 1, not to 2, not to 3. So the time when I tell me about Sheikh Komba, that's Sheikh Komba, Mr. Who said, but I was happy that Mr. Fode, when they with me now with brother, he said we'll talk to him in 2 minutes. You know, when he said to call Sheikh Komba, so now tell us, Sheikh, I will want to get the phone mail umbrella, and then we go talk to the other one in a network. So Sheikh Komba, in 2 minutes, can you come and talk to us? Waiting now, who now your role now today? From today, take over, because another for come baby, where are you from?
Yeah. I want let me chief imam that said I'll stay in the site. Where they talk, they need to secure themselves, they will get their own site, left hand and right hand.
All right. Okay.
Sheikh Fumba, before you talk, I want to let you tell Winner London, because you know you and your colleague there are very important.
I am Sheikh Fumba Abubakar Suare. I am the project coordinator for the Sierra Leone Muslim Missionaries Union. This is the union that is formed out of a scholarship. Brothers that have left Sierra Leone to study, come back home and support government or complement government efforts in building this nation, education, social, and other aspects of life. Sierra Leone Muslim Missionary Union is a consortium of Islamic scholars all over the world. Some of our colleagues left out there lecturing, even in the UK. We have brothers there. On my right, we have Sheikh Mohammed Amin Kamara. He is the president of the National Dawah Committee, a committee that is responsible to preach out the gospel to the evangelical movement. So Sheikh Amin also spread his tentacles all over the country. Of course, Sheikh Marwan Kone is our imam at the State House, and he also is the Western Region coordinator. We have other brother, Numi, who is National Muslim Youth. He is in charge of the youth coordination, and of course, Sheikh Dumbuya, Sheikh Fuad Dumbuya. Well, today we want to go now straight to the point and the purpose for which we gathered here. In terms of religious leaders' response to gender-based violence, this goes without a say, as you know. Religious leaders have very, very important role to play. They formulate what we call the RRB, the Rapid Rapport Base. Very fast in getting contact with the client or the victim. No sooner the victim comes to the mosque and realize that this is what's going on, or parents come with an issue regarding the daughter being violated, or for example, coming out with marital counseling because some force the girl child into marital relationship. Our strategy is to counsel both the parent and the victim or the girl child that is seeking for support. But today, we have many other institutions that we tend to forget. Institutional gender-based violence. What do I mean here? I'm talking about a school situation, for example. Today, we have instituted what we call guidance and counseling in school, so that when a girl child is suffering from sexual harassment from a particular teacher, then the guidance counselor will now come in and advise accordingly, because such professional misconduct will not be accepted. Another one is where we have not been able to interfere as religious-based to respond is the office-based violence. We all believe that even those girls they have been abused by people in offices when they go to office because of their poor status. People in the high status there, they can do whatever in order to abuse such a child. But most of these things are being carpeted. They are not highly exposed. As we heard our sister, Mata Chikuzi, say, when those girls are being abused and the matter is taken to their parents, that big man will come and just shuffle out some cash and then give them say, "Oh, now forget about this matter." But actually, girls are suffering from violence, from rape in offices. That it goes without saying. It used to be in school, but now it's very much minimized. Before or after the war, soon, we used to see a lot of girl child in the street selling here and there. And that was the time this 6334, His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Jan Kabab, when he was Minister of Education, he said that we must fight to make sure that we bring a total balance between the boy and the girl entering in the school situation. So we are campaigning, we preached in our pulpits, we went up and down to make sure that they register the girl child in school. But today, fortunately for us, the Lord has given us the Savior, His Excellency, retired Julius Maada Bio, who have made education free and quality and has allowed the total, involvement and total registration of girl child into our school system. So we believe that if you now go to the market or you go to the street of Freetown, you will see lesser girl child selling now water, selling their mothers' wares in the street. Very less today, we thank God, because they are now totally engaged in education. Then come what God did for us in this country, Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is blessed. We want to say that Sierra Leone is indeed blessed. Behind His Excellency, the Lord brought a wonderful First Lady who, for the first time in the living history of this nation, was able to mobilize 7 or 8 First Ladies from the sub-region. They all came in Sierra Leone before our faces and launched a program on the same topic, gender-based violence, but the first thing we call her hands off our girls. It's another expression. It's another way to say, let us put stop to gender-based violence. Because when you say, tell someone hands off our girls, it means provide a safe and enabling environment for the girl child to survive and contribute to national development. We as religious leaders, we believe that God has created man and every individual is born with a unique potential. And say, for example, in a family, a girl child in that family is the one that will be the tomorrow breadwinner. If you abuse her and you tamper with her dignity and respect, and at the end of the day, she walks not and she's crippled and she's abused, or she run away with her life to other nation or to kill herself, it means you have contributed to killing the breadwinner of that family. A boy in the family, perhaps he doesn't have the mental ability to learn better. Perhaps the girl child in that family is the one that is sent at that moment to be the savior of the nation, to be the savior of our community, to be the savior of our family. So we need to come together collectively to make sure that we save and protect the girl child. Today, I want to thank our sister, Mata Chikuzi, for the tremendous effort in bringing this program to life. And this is why we consider this as our business. We need to avail ourselves to make sure that we contribute and be part of the process. We will not be sitting down to see this good vehicle moving in the corridor of this nation to say stop to gender-based violence, and we don't clap for them. Even if it is only clap, we'll do it. And we are ready to go along with them to create programs to make sure that we bring what we call community sensitization and to say and behavioral change. We need to go to our community to tell those boys around, to tell those big men hanging around, say, hey, you stop. This time round, you have been joking, but this time round, no more joke around at the girl child. The total sensitization has been done by the First Lady. Last year, we saw the First Lady moving around every corner in this nation to launch her initiative on hands of our girl. So with this organization and with this body coming together to contribute immensely to make sure that we see the girl child being a productive citizen, to see the girl child contributing her own bits and pieces to make Sierra Leone a better place for mankind to live. We want to say we have been doing work and we are still continuing to do work. We will be coming with our AGM from December 8th, the Inter-Religious Council. God has blessed this nation. Finally, God has blessed this nation that both Muslim and Christians, they are working side by side. Muslim and Christians, they are working together to make sure that we save our mother land, to say that we save Sierra Leone. We are working together to make sure that there should be no crack or division in this nation. We want to see Sierra Leone tomorrow to be an indivisible nation. To see Sierra Leone, that Sierra Leone should not be divided on political, religious, or regional basis. We should come together to lift the flag of Sierra Leone and let it brandish anywhere we go. And thank God, our sister in the diaspora, anywhere you go, you see Sierra Leonean. She has a distinction. She distinguishes herself from other girls, from other women. So we want to make sure that what our sisters, our brothers, our sisters have started today, we will continue to support them. And
so, Imam Fombe, before you go, sir, I just want to also take this opportunity, because many times we contact leaders them, but with you, without any hesitation, the minute where you get a text, you say, I will make myself available. So before you go, and I know mindfully we also here, we get with next speaker where they come on, but Imam Fomba, and also the role where you they play, it's immensely passionate and immensely integral in the transformation where we they see so across Sierra Leone. To be honest, I am truly proud to be a Sierra Leonean today. Always proud, but today I'm really proud because I'm seeing leadership that I have never seen before. But I want you to send out a word of encouragement. Despite we have this good leadership and people that are willing like you and your colleagues therefore can support we, what encouragement you will give to we other faith leaders them in different parts of Salone, because we still they see some hesitation for spearhead the safety, the protection, the safeguarding of we gal picking them. We still they see problem. We still they see society where we don't understand, because we they do so well. We get the opportunity for change the direction of we gal picking them. Whose word you go give them, sir?
Well, thank you very much. I will make a countdown to Sierra Leone language in 1 minute. That request is well in place. And if this request not be come, I will be see myself say, I not actually fulfill the purpose for which I am called for can say. I don't say everything, but I will forget this aspect. This aspect is what? For let every state leader believe that time not there again for let we say, do ya let we forgive them. Do ya the first thing where rape people in God, they don't catch and come. The girl begin to identify them. Say, no, to God, God no. God is not part of violence. God not to him do bad. Una bring the person to book. I want to send this message to all imams and faith leaders that whenever the society identify the one creating, perpetrating violence on the girl child, let them hold on and bring account to authority. Because His Excellency said they don't institute the legal policy who side for address that matter. So we not for hiding. Let we business is to go after them. Let we chase them and bring them, let them register. Then go then at the record. If the law not hold them today, tomorrow, posterity, it will tell them, it will judge them. So no hiding place not in this country. One for tell them, say, no hiding place not in Sierra Leone, the president enough for that, the mamit enough for that, the entire workforce is enough for that, and the body where they before we you say the organization Ted Woga, see, you also enough for that. So I want to send this singular message, reading Imam again, via so Aloma said it don't know. Whenever this kind of thing happens, We see the victim, we don't identify somebody, we bring account to who, and then the law take the course.
Imam Fombe, I hope so you go stay with me because we get one activity where we need for you from Una. We now get we next speaker where they can speak all the way from London. And this now Dr. Anne-Marie Wilson. I go talk pan Creole, then I go transfer per English. Dr. Anne-Marie don't work for many, many years now the work of gender-based violence, but I go carry it with in your biography for letting people to understand the kind of important people that way we get where they join with today. And so Dr. Anne-Marie Wilson, now the founder and the executive director of an anti-FGM charity called 28 Too Many, and a research organization where he creates for end FGM in 28 countries there, where then they practice this practice here, and in other countries there where they are across the world, where then they get diaspora there also where they practice this and then community them. The organization 28 Too Many, when a registered charity since 2012, don't aim for provide strategic framework them where then they share their understanding and sense, then book sense them with the tools they way they get. Now the country they way then they work for help them for be successful and making sustainable changes for end FGM. So without further ado, I'm gonna now introduce Dr. Anne-Marie Wilson, who is joining us from London today with us. I don't read in biography, but I can't read it again in English because of with time. Dr. Anne-Marie Wilson, you have spent incredible years, time, effort. You're an activist, you're a campaigner, and you've worked across the world. Not just around the issue of ending FGM, but sexual gender-based violence and all the forms of violence. And we invite you today to speak to our speakers about the importance of social norms. And this is an area you've spent your entire career on researching, and you know all there is to know about social norms. So we're not going to interpret, so I will let you speak for 10 minutes to our audience here and in Sierra Leone, what it is in terms of the work that 28 Too Many and yourself, in fact, have done in this area.
So thank you very much, Alima, and thank you very much to this venerated group of audience. I'm honoured and privileged to be here with you from UK. My team has spent time in Sierra Leone, and we are dedicated to the cause of helping eradicate FGM, female genital mutilation, including by faith, which is a very important prong in our armoury, really, to help end this harmful practice. In fact, one of the areas I sit on in the UK is a national working group of multidisciplinary agencies linked to faith and belief, because sometimes FGM is done in the name of faith, and there are various harmful practices linked to spirit possession, faith or belief. So I sit on that working party across the UK to raise awareness and prevention. So I'm going to share with you today a few ideas, and as a faith leader myself, I'm a minister in the Anglican Church. FGM is not present, as we know, in any holy book. And I studied and wrote a paper on this aspect in the Journal of Gender Studies when I studied Islamics and gender anthropology and development in my last degree. So it gives me great pleasure to be able to say categorically that we can speak boldly about this when we speak in different groups, boldly yet with sensitivity. And actually our work works often with faith leaders, and we hope to share some of what the best practice options are for faith leaders, particularly in Sierra Leone. And we mark that on this auspicious day at the beginning of the 16 days of activism. So just to put a little bit of context, firstly, our country report on Sierra Leone, on all our resources are on our website, freely downloadable on 28toomany.org. So please do have a look there. I'll be talking about our Sierra Leone report, I'll be talking about our social norms report, and I'll be talking about various other reports, but there's certainly one of on medicalisation, which also relates to our work here as well. In Sierra Leone, as you probably know, the prevalence of FGM among women of 15 to 49 is 89.5%, according to the 2013 DHS survey. This is slightly lower than the 91.3% reported in the 2008 DHS survey. Yet it is still very high, particularly in rural areas where it's up to 94%, amongst those that, compared to those in urban areas of around 81%. FGM in Sierra Leone, part of the initiation into women's secret societies, the Bondo or Sande, and 90% of women are members of those societies. And as these societies exist in all ethnic groups except the Creole, this is actually marks a girl's transition to womanhood and becoming a member of the community. So I'll talk to you particularly about FGM as a social norm because it's a tradition that is heavily enforced by community pressure. Most commonly cited perceived benefit of FGM is social acceptance. Cutting is considered anatomically necessary for a girl to become an unambiguous gendered female. And as part of this rationale, uncut women are also often labelled unclean. There is furthermore common belief that FGM is more aesthetically acceptable. And another reason it's necessary to preserve a girl's virginity, and half the adult population believes it is a religious requirement. And that's the part I want us to think about today. If half the population think it's a religious requirement when it isn't, then we have some work to do in that area. So let me tell you a little bit about social norms. A social norm is where there's growing evidence that a community-based programme appears the most effective strategy for catalysing shifts in FGM-related activities and behaviour. These social norms programmes actually work extremely well, and they show different understandings of what social norms are, but they tend to do coverage of the following areas. So there's 5 things I'm going to mention that will help. So firstly, social expectations. A social norm is constructed when one's belief about what others do and one's belief about what others think one should do. A reference group is a group where group members tend to hold expectations of one another. So these 2 things need to be present. Similarly, social influence is maintained by the approval or disapproval among the reference group of one's belief in legitimacy as others experience. And what those 3 together, social expectations, the group membership and the social influence all go together. And the 4th thing is social benefits. And that aspect talks about positive sanctions, including belonging and marriageability, are weighed against negative sanctions, including ridicule and rejection. And there is an enormous amount of evidence that in Sierra Leone, where FGM is practiced at this very high number, female elders, particularly grandmothers and others, have significant input into the practice, as well as the cultural authority of power to change it. So as women, we need to stand together to try and stamp out this social norm in Sierra Leone. There is consensus that FGM is a social norm as it's a socially upheld behavioural rule. This means everyone does it, or people believe that everyone does it. Individuals practice it because they have never questioned behaving otherwise. They receive social benefits from conforming to the norm, and they fear social sanctions from others for deviating from it. Even when the adoption of FGM is recent, people can be pushed to conform to other groups' social norms. So in in the different parts of Sierra Leone where FGM is practiced, what needs to be decided upon is the design of programs, because it is difficult for individuals or specific families to stop the practice on their own because of the social sanctions against which deviating from the norm. There would be danger. Certainly when I worked in Somalia, there were a family who stood against the social norm there and decided not to have their girl cut, but actually the eldest daughter was blinded by a stone on the way to school. The mother was not allowed to draw water and the father was not allowed to work in the market because they stood against the social norm of the community. So we would like families to encourage to stop cutting their daughters if they're convinced that a sufficiently large number of other families do not practice FGM or ready to abandon the practice. When I wrote a paper for the Journal of Gender Studies in the mid-2000s, 2010 or 11, the paper talks about the power of Chinese foot binding, which was also a social norm for many, many years. And the community stood against it to show that the benefits for the girl were physically much better for not having this practice, this harmful practice, yet there were the same benefits of having the acceptance in the community without the foot binding in that case. So we can have this for FGM and not have our girls cut. I wanted to share with you a little example of where we worked in a different country, in Tanzania, and we actually did a sensitization program across the country and showed that where FGM happened there, and it was actually complicit in the religious buildings of that country, in the churches, and girls were being cut. And when we brought 600 bishops together, they didn't know about this, and there were ways of actually stamping this out for the future. So one of the things that needs to be thought about with social norms is training and integration with a health program. So I would suggest that we need to look at health practices and making sure that health practitioners do not cut girls privately or officially. Also, alternative rites of practice to the Bondo or Sunday practice, where there could be a similar procedure but without the actual cutting, and actually all the good parts of the tradition are passed on without that actual part. We need to think about safe havens for girls who actually either choose to go away or actually manage to escape from the practice or run away. And we need to think about where those safe havens would be in the community, whether they're school buildings or mosque buildings or church buildings or other community places. We need to think of collaboration and partnership as well, in terms of working together along with the government to actually stand against this practice. We need to think about limitations that have historically been on church response, or actually in Islamic response as well. That through sermons, single-sex groups could have discussions where people were urged to stop the practice, and that girls would be told that they would not be penalised and the family would not be sent away from the group just because they haven't had this cut. We need to be talking to a national body where we can get all community faith leaders across all divides to work together and say that there is no place for this in the future. And actually, if there's no place for this in a holy book, then there is no place for this practice to be practiced in the name of that holiness. We need to be thinking of awareness raising, sensitization and outreach. I've worked for about 15 years from 2000, or 20 years now, from 2000 onwards against anti-FGM across about 15 different African countries. And although they're all different, there are some similarities. and we want to actually change curriculums for young girls at Sunday school or madrasa to show that actually there are education along HIV/AIDS, and alongside this on sexuality, to bring the practices together. Sometimes girls who are cut will have a much higher likelihood of having HIV/AIDS prevalence as well, along with all the other problems that go with having FGM. I would like to suggest that we could use community meetings to diffuse this message across the communities, and also by role-play music and theatre. Certainly when I worked in northern Nigeria, we used that quite a lot, and that was a great success, particularly in low literacy areas. We could also use radio and creating T-shirts and messaging for days like today, the 16 days, but also Anti-FGM Day, International Women's Day, and the like. And we can also use training as well, training of educators and training of faith leaders, training of legislators and the police. We need to have systems where girls will feel they're not isolated if they run away, that they will be protected and their families will be protected and there will be no repercussions against them. We also need to think about the myths and legends of Sierra Leone culture and the different ones in the different areas as well. There are often incorrect and untruths shared, and these need to be corrected. That sometimes the perpetrators actually use these to make sure that girls are compliant with FGM, and that is also quite an important area as well. We need to think about how we could have an alternative rite of passage so that girls do not actually miss out on their initiation into community as well. And we need to think about which safe spaces the community could provide, safe houses to enable young girls to receive protection at the relevant cutting season, as well as continue their education, but also not take girls away long term so that they can be reintegrated back into their community. We need to think about alternative sources of income for the Sunday and the Bondo cutters as well, and the economics of providing girl education as well. And we need to think about challenging community attitudes. This work will never work without engaging men and boys and the potential husbands of young girls who would see marrying an uncut girl as a good idea. Certainly when I worked with Somali and Kenyan people across the borders in internally displaced people camp, they did not realise that often people who've had FGM will have a very painful sexual relationship, and actually that this harm is not required. And actually they often have less babies coming out properly. I trained as a midwife in northern Pakistan, and I saw the implications of having FGM, not only a fistula, where I ran a fistula camp in northern Nigeria, but also of the impact on anatomy of not being able to birth babies properly. We need to engage traditional leaders, both religious and community leaders, and the elders of the community, women, men, youth, and the cutters community as well, and the people in high office and the royal families of different groups as well. We also need to think of gender equity as well. So our trainings are delivered to men and women, even if it's different. And we also need to be making sure that there's gainful employment for women in spheres of life. So perhaps that to re-employ cutters in something else, but also ensure that girls don't need to be cut and can have a good education following on with their schooling. We need to work alongside government and community NGOs that are committed already to ending this work, and with schools, with mosques, with churches, with other local and national NGOs. And then we need to be using advocacy to talk about the different legislative frameworks, international as well as local, and under constitutional reforms as well. We need to lobby for Sierra Leone to actually pass legislation to end FGM as well, and to see this eradicated once and for all in our lifetime. I just want to share one case study of a good practice where a group has actually stood against the cutting tradition. This is an organisation who appears to bridge the need of cultural continuity and ethos of no harm to women or girls. And they're among the Temne group who live in Masanya village and its surrounding areas where FGM is carried out in ages 3 to 5. MEA, Masanga Education Assistance, has been working in the area for about 16 years now, sponsoring education for children, both in private and public sectors. And in 2007, they opened their own kindergarten. And the condition for anyone accessing it was to trade excision for education. They have carried this on, and in 2009, reports came back that these girls were socially excluded, even from simple activities like bathing and bondo initiates. So the conversation of putting down the basket started, of a ceremonial renunciation of the Sawi's cutting tools, a reenaction of that. And it was very influential in community terms. And following the lead, a number of Sawis in Masanga and its surrounding villages have renounced FGM and discarded their old bondo colours of red and white and embraced yellow as the colour of the new bondo. In 2010, the first ceremonies without FGM were conducted by the paramount chiefs in Tonkolili, the district's highest authority, and they've extended this programme to 7 sections now. Since then have been 5 more initiations for about 400 girls in total. 8 of them subsequently subjected to FGM and suffered excision from the programme, was sent to from the village. So when the village did revoke, they were excluded because of the power of the other groups. So the rights cultural dimensions are being maintained along with reproduction process and norms of ethical processes. And this gives symbolic weight to excision without dissolving the nest of the ritual. So you can keep the ritual and not do the harm. So this gives me hope that within our time, we can see more rituals like this starting up, and that we as a faith body can join together to actually say there is no place in faith for cutting girls, and that as a faith body, we can join together across the faith divide and actually share this knowledge. Please do have a look at our reports. There is a country report on all our work on Sierra Leone. There is also a law report as well, showing what requirement would be needed if Sierra Leone was to pass legislation as well. So please do use that for your advocacy. And there is the full social norms report from which I've quoted today for you. So I've left a few minutes at the end as well in case you've got any questions, but thank you for listening today from me. And I wish I was with you in person, but due to this COVID, I can't travel, but thank you for giving me the audience today.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. Yes, we wish it hadn't been for COVID, we would have been on the ground in Sierra Leone. I know we have our other guest speakers waiting, but as always, we learn from speaking with faith leaders like yourself. And one of the things you mentioned, I will talk in Creole because a lot of us audience in Sierra Leone are Creole speakers. But you mentioned the alternative rite of passage. I know that's an area already growing in Sierra Leone. And one of our colleagues, Rugiatu Toure, in partnership with the Purposeful Production, in fact, airing some films today and I think tomorrow and the coming days. But you mentioned something of good practice, that we can change social norms. You know, in the terms of faith, I'm a Christian, and I know the Bible tells us faith is of things not seen and evidence hoped for. However, in practice, we tend to believe the things we don't see, and we emphasize on norms that have existed since the time of millennia. How do we make change today? How do we get things moving today? From, you said, working in partnership. Today, we are so proud that the government gave us the opportunity to use the ministerial space. So that's a big partnership there. So before I call our next speaker, who is the head of the Rainbow Center, Mr. Daniel Cato, to speak, which is another partnership, what is that one reality that we can hold on to in order for us to see change? So let me talk it in Creole now. Dr. Anne-Marie Wilson, thank you so much. And all 10 ways you can talk about that issue, we did learn a lot. And you don't mention boku team, but I just pick a few. And one of the things that way you talk about now this alternative rite of passage. Now we know say this now tiwe already they happen self na salon now and they grow. One of we colleague we then call Rugia too. They work with Purposeful Chernobyl organization for bring this change. But I want to ask you one question before you go, because we get with next speaker, Mr. Daniel Cato, when at the head of the Rainbow Initiative. Waiting at one reality where we go talk say we see now na salon where it camper ending FGM, since this na your speciality.
Thank you, Alima. I think my one thing would be for you to say, think big and take each of one of your delegates today and everybody on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, each takes a decision to think carefully about what can they do themselves. Like, I'm a single woman, I've campaigned, even as a white woman, campaigned tirelessly for the last 20 years for this FGM to end, and I've seen huge strides forwards. If it hadn't been for COVID, I would have been at the UN in February, lobbying the Sierra Leone government to change the legislation and pass legislation to make a difference to ending FGM. So I would just say to each person, what is your sphere of influence? Are you a mother, a teacher, an educator, a wife, a father? What can you do personally to make a change happen that you can add to others? And what new information can you take away from today? Like you, I'm a Christian. I believe that there is no place for this, and there is no place in the Quran, because I've studied it too. So if that's the case, what keeps it going? We do not want the next generation to be suffering the harm of the previous generation. So let's all rally together and say, what I will also commit to something today, and I will also take out on social media some things and say that we need to make the change of the law as well. So if we work together and people at least educate themselves on our resources, then we can go forward. But that would be my commitment. Make everyone to take a pledge today that they will do something in this season directly from today's seminar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anne-Marie. I hope you will stay with us, but we are now going to call Mr. Daniel Cato, who's the head and executive director of the Rainbow Center. Over to you, sir. And Anne-Marie, please stay with us. Don't go away.
I will. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Moderator, and good afternoon, everyone. I am Daniel Cato. I am the executive director for Rainbow Initiative. Rainbow Initiative is a national organization that is passionate to end sexual and gender-based violence. We provide age-free medical treatment and age-appropriate services, including psychosocial services for survivors of sexual and gender-based violence. Currently, we have 5 Rainbow Centers, 5 Rainbow Centers across the country, and Rainbow Centers are places where survivors go to receive free medical treatment and psychosocial supports in terms of to heal with dignity and go back to their communities with joy. First, before I say anything, I want to seize this opportunity to congratulate all of the women in this room, and especially the women of Sierra Leone, for working tirelessly to advocate, to raise awareness, and to end sexual and gender-based violence during these 16 days of activism. We all know that sexual and gender-based violence is a very serious problem in our country today, and it is a life-threatening issue. It affects women, children mostly, and in our communities on a daily basis. Working at the Rainbow Centers, we see cases on a daily basis, and then we treat survivors ranging from age 1 to 90 years so far. From the oldest survivor so far that we have treated at the Rainbow Center is 75 years for this year. And the youngest survivor so far is 6-month-old baby who was treated at the Kenema Rainbow Center. So as we all celebrate this day, let's also remember that we have a role to play as stakeholders, as governments, as communities, as individuals to end sexual and gender-based violence. We need to work together as a team and to ensure that we raise awareness on this issue, because a lot of the time we see some kind of zeal during the 16 days of activism, but after the 16 days of activism, many people are not playing their responsibility as a parent, as a community member, as a friend, to ensure that we support survivors in our communities when the incident of sexual and gender-based violence occur. How do we support them as individuals? We need to encourage them to come out to speak first, which I will congratulate the government of Sierra Leone, the president, His Excellency. He came out first, he acknowledged the problem. And by acknowledging the problem, that gave the women of Sierra Leone the power to come out and report cases of sexual and gender-based violence to the nearest police station and then seek for medical support at various government hospitals in the country. All have not been achieved at the moment, but we have seen laudable efforts and commitments, political will from government to ensure that survivors of gender-based violence receive adequate support in their communities and at their local hospitals. We have seen the government have set up the gender ministry, and now the gender ministry is piloting the one-stop centers together with the Rainbow Centers across the country. Now we have 6 one-stop centers and we have 5 Rainbow Centers. So it's in total, we have 11 places where survivors could go and share their stories and they are listened to. So as communities or individuals, we need to work together to support survivors in helping communities to understand the support services available, bringing services to communities and enforcing the laws to enhance the protective power of these social links. We need to raise our boys to respect women as equals. We need to listen to girls' voices and we believe them instead of blaming them. Often and time again, when survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, especially survivors of rape, when they first come out, they tell us in the counseling rooms, when they first report the incident of rape to their parents or to the community member, they are shared off. And sometimes they are saying, oh, in quotes, not give that person problem. Do ya not report this, not talk openly. Many people they try to compromise these things. So as individuals in our home, especially as faith leaders, we need to work together. And then how do we work together with communities and also with survivors to ensure that we listen to their stories and we believe them when they report cases of sexual and gender-based violence to us. And often again, we tried as much as we can as faith leaders, be you a Muslim or Christian, we always try to mediate those cases at our religious setting, which not knowing the consequences the survivor is going through. Sometimes we stand on their behalf and we say, okay, unquote, when I forget about this speaking, a child who is 10 years old is being raped, and then the mother is standing there who is being victimized, and the parents would then stand and then we receive, maybe token on behalf of that child, not exactly understanding the psychological impact of that child. So we need to go further to be able to understand, to be able to support us and understand.
So after Nimko, I go call on.
Sorry. We need to go to understand the survivors' stories and then how the issue of rape has impacted their life. So as we are here today, I want us all to serve as role models to fight against sexual and gender-based violence. First, we need to talk about these issues openly about violence against women and girls, the root causes and the consequences. We need also to report incidences and also encourage survivors to report incidences. We also need to be supportive of even some government institutions, especially the family support units, because they are doing a great job. Sometimes the first people they call for those cases is family support units. And we need to support them to do proper investigation of the cases by also coming out, because sometimes witnesses are not coming out. Rape is a very serious issue. It's always happened in the dark. So for people to come out and testify to say, yes, I really saw this happen, it's always a challenge. But when we support the police in their investigation and then we are able to provide them the adequate information and give them evidence, it will be able to expedite the investigation for court proceedings. We also need to stop making excuses for perpetrators and ensure that they are held accountable for their actions. As faith leaders, sometimes, often again, when we know that somebody has committed this crime and then we know that this person is a big person within our society and there is a stakeholder within our society, we sometimes tend to blame the survivors and then make excuses for perpetrators. Even, unquote, now then begin and the way dress self, now make way the rapper, so the way you don't go there at night, the man has taken advantage of him. So we need to stop making those excuses. And then lastly, I want to comment on our collective efforts is needed from all partners and individuals to ensure that survivors of sexual and gender-based violence have access to essential health services, psychosocial support, and legal aid. The power is balanced with responsibility. We all have the power together to end gender-based violence in our homes, communities, schools, universities, churches, and mosques, and the nation as a whole. So we need to play our role and we need to take responsibility to end sexual and gender-based violence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Daniel Cato. My sincere apologies. I thought I'd muted my device there. But I hope you could stay with us. I know today is one of those busiest days for people like yourself working on this very important issue of ending sexual gender-based violence. I don't know if if we could call on Nimco. I know you're in a rush and today is one of those days that we could not sort of waste, but I wanted to bring you in, even if it's for a minute or two. Reason being, you are one of those people currently doing an amazing work for African grassroots and African organizations and people on the front line. You have now seen some of our challenges that we have, particularly in Sierra Leone and other parts of Africa, working on this very important issue. Money, funding is never available. Had we had funding today, we would have provided big lunches for our incredible faith leaders to say thank you for all the work that they've been doing. We would have had a massive venue with all our technical gadgets working perfectly. What approach in terms of best practice, what can we look forward to? I know you're also the current independent advisor to Boris Johnson, the British government. What can you say to the British government to help people like ourselves on the front line, grassroots, Reverend Martha Chikozi and our colleagues in Sierra Leone to tackle this important issue, as difficult as it is? What do you have to say?
Thank you very much, Alimatu, and I'm sorry I have to run. But ultimately, one of the things I want to say is that every single person that's on the front line and on this call is the real expert. I'm just here to be your ally and to help advocate on your behalf. So I'm the advisor to the Home Secretary in terms of tackling violence against women and girls. But I want to say one of the key things is that we need to, so Sierra Leone has a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A very important role within terms of the Commonwealth and broadly on the African continent. So there's a massive opportunity for the United Kingdom to invest in Sierra Leone and for Sierra Leone diaspora and also the community back home to really lobby on that. I know there's a lot of talk about the 0.7% in the media right now. And I can just say, as an African, as somebody that has been working with frontline activists, very little of the money, if any of that money has actually ever got to people that really are doing the work. And I think that needs to change. So I think even though there are massive threats at the moment, there are also massive opportunities. And what I would really say is that it is time for us to organize, it is time for us to be strategic, and it's time for us to advocate on our own behalves. I think as Sierra Leoneans, as Africans, and as people that care about the investment in Africa's next generation of women, we have to be able to make that case to the UK government. I ultimately believe that unless we invest in Africa's female future, the idea that we will attain or even get close to achieving any of the Sustainable Development Goals is a complete and utter fallacy. So what I would like to say and what I would like to ask is that for any of the organizations that are on here that haven't joined the 5 Foundation, which is the global partnership, and I know Alimatu, One Girl at a Time, and also 28 Too Many, who does some of the most incredible work collecting data on this issue, are partners. I think our voices are stronger together. And my favorite African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, let's go together. And we have a massive opportunity to be able to go together. The UK is the head of the G7 next year. We can really put the future of African women at the heart of that. And if there is one thing that I can say is that beyond all the media and all the things out there, I know that this government and the Prime Minister fundamentally cares about the future of African girls. But it is time for us to really make that case. And last week we launched a letter that showed that only 1% of gender of funding, international development funding, 1% went to gender specific work, and very little of that went to African women-led organizations. So we are dealing with a lot of sexism and a lot of racism, but I'm hopeful. And I think to be talking to people of faith, I think you can kind of understand that I do have faith in humanity, and I do have faith in God, and I have faith that this government will deliver. So I'm here, and I think if you can give out our details later, if they want to join the 5 Foundation, we'll be more than happy to help.
Thank you so much, Nimco. Before you go, I just want to translate quickly in Creole, just in a nutshell what you have said, because majority of our speakers in Sierra Leone speak Creole. This na Nimco Ali, we na the co-founder of an organization where they call 5 Foundation, where really they look for support, grassroots activists, them organization, the way they work na the front line, where sometimes it's difficult for we all for let we go do we work without funding. So in organization, really not the voice for help, we kind of we go able for access that kind of funding. So I asked Nimco, waiting I want we go able for tell we for help we go give we that kind of opportunity there. Now he say, well, Salon right now na a very important partner na the big world or the wide world, and because Salon is able for lobby for a lot of support. And also because the government of the UK were in the advisor to the Home Office or the Home Secretary in position, it go able for advice on the thing that were important to woman and girl picking business there. But Nimco say we as a community of grassroots and organization there, including with faith leader, and so now where they with we all get for work together. We all get for car with one word. We all get for strategize or put together waiting and the thing the way we need for work. And also he asked in case if anybody want for learn a bit more, because in get for can go now, it get important events back where they can go. Now for join in foundation, where they call the 5 Foundation. So waiting I go do during the event, I go share the detail there with Reverend Martha Chikozi Then I go also put on with Facebook page where people then go able for go learn waiting the 5 foundation they do. So we want to tell Nimco thank you. We want to tell Daniel Keto then thank you, because they're all two now important people then pan this work for end sexual gender-based violence, and today now then busy day. So thank you so much, Nimco. Thank you very much, and God bless you. And we will now call on our keynote speaker. But first of all, I will go over to my colleague, Reverend Martha Chikozi. Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Fantastic. Yes, so I know we have a very, very important person who will be joining us soon. And we would like to take this opportunity to welcome the next speaker, who unfortunately our minister had to dash to a very, very important meeting, an emergency meeting that has just come up. She is with us, but she has sent her representative, who will now give us the keynote message, a message that the minister herself has put together, but she has kindly asked her colleague to disperse the message to us. So I go talk Pancreo now. Yes.
Sorry, we get one more when I Katudabo in representative of FSU.
Oh, there with Tuna there. Okay.
Yes,
all right. Make her introduce her quick now.
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
3 minutes, yes.
Yeah, 3 minutes. So, you might now go ahead for introduce her?
Yes, ma.
Okay, thank you. So we Katudabo at the head of FSU Serenu, but instead we get thousands of things. It only on the road coming before something else happens. At least it's giving a good man. And they deal with them of case they are FSU family support unit. The name is
yeah, Inspector for the concept.
Okay, over to you. So,
yeah, me the line manager for the family support unit here at the headquarters. They are for represent me boss when at the head of family support unit. And not they are because we get so many engagements that we don't have of really come and ask me to represent us. I'm so glad for they are discussing the way forward, how we will tackle SGBV issues at the country. We all mindful of the fact that the FSU is a pivot in dealing with SGBV Sierra Leone. Now we investigate and prosecute SGBV matters. And since we come in existence 2001, we don't do a lot of things, lot of issues. We don't prosecute, we don't arrest and detain. But what's our waiting we don't do. We actually need collaboration from other agencies, partners, like we there now with the religious heads, religious leaders, we discuss how we will tackle that here. Like me, don't privilege for working at communities that we're very remote, not to the provinces, but like communities as far as Tumbu, Kent. If we are poor for law, we know say we get so much interference from religious bodies when it comes to sexual and gender-based violence. Yes, and as soon as the materials they come up, they come to the hearing. The sad part of it is that they not go for helping for prosecution, but rather these religious bodies and the communities they help for how to perpetrate or defeat justice. We're very important to be, because mind you, you roll here, everybody gets your role. You roll here as police officers, and especially the family supporting it, and to see how best we will stop incidents of SGBV. And they go on always for the compromise, allowing perpetrators for those scot-free, then they do justice to the nation, they do justice to ourselves. We rather would expect, say, we collaborate, how we be able to see that this thing stop through arresting and prosecuting perpetrators, especially when we see it will become very serious. If we look at the Domestic Violence Act, it tell me about aggravated domestic violence. We get something for do with somebody sustained wound. Go on for tell me say if somebody refused previous warnings from the law enforcement, the police, the courts, religious leaders, traditional leaders, you know, then it becomes aggravated because you know somebody we know they respect law. They don't want you to say this thing not wrong. It starts from minor issue. We they consider say minor. But if it doesn't become persistent, then it becomes aggravated. And we will require bodies, religious bodies, partners for able to side with the police because say the perpetrator gets the required punishment and forgets. In most cases, not only for go jail the person, but going to court will serve as a deterrent for her. You know, then will correct them, tell her things we for do, things we not for do. So I'm not saying we for shy away from bringing them people out to the police and supporting the FSU for what we do we go. But they make sure statement.
Thank you so much. And before you go, sir, because Bokutem we can not so much from we faith leader them, but from the community, but nas alone. Oh, we don't know outside the FSU day. We know the FSU they do so much work, as you can see. So today we've been getting the head of FSUA for join we, but himself don't rush because he get for goes on site urgent. Give we fumble the way they with you so right now. Some of the number them, for example, or maybe even self if not the one way nearer to the ministry day, because we not say FSU then they even all the way Kenema, even all the way McKinney, FSU then they. But I don't know where to make with community that they struggle for no say FSU day, even though we did tell them say this service is available, a day for una. What you go say to we fumble there?
Yes, FSU day countrywide now the respective communities. So like we not get hotline, but each unit gets a line manager, we get a number, and then numbers, and they most times we can ask them for publicize them, or make them public, so that people can go easily access them. And most often we did transfer line managers from different places. Like me, just from Waterloo now. So most people, like yesterday, I get called from somebody from Waterloo, they ask for assistance. Me, get for refer to the new line manager with it. So this is not a problem. But we will try to see how best we will get the hotline at the FSU station. But they go on with we own line manager personal cell numbers. Like we say me now the CID headquarters, we dey for receive like we say you don't go reports in case that any FSU station gets problems, then the complaint meets the FSU headquarters, then we can ask for transfer, either transfer the matter to we, or we go down there and see how we will able to sort out the difficulty with it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for taking your time for can join we, but as you know, we're short for time. But I hope say you go there with we, because we'll get one activity where we go need your leadership pan. So dear big left with we first, sit down first now the audience, no go it. But over to my colleague, Madam Reverend Chikozi. I know say you get for can call somebody else. Over to you, ma.
Thank you very much. See, I don't clap for Halima. For Madam Halima, he don't sleep in London. He don't wake 5 o'clock morning for do a test. You know, woman, when they do the one for do on top of the whole thing. Then when the people are devoted, we need for the test, for see how the sound they, for see how everything works. But at least for all a year, you know, so this is they far, we they far, but we all a year we said. So now one to make for their thank you so much. And thank you so
Reverend,
much.
No, before you tell me thank you, myself want tell other person thank you. Because the Ministry for Social Welfare and McKinney self don't join we, and they see one man where they call Mr. Alan don't join we. So this now sober. We get police woman when a salon police woman where they join we all the way from London when a Diana. And we get young people where they do a lot of work where they call Abuyila, Diana, Yusuf Wave, we all in London. But we get another organization.
Hello.
A big organization when the Sierra Leone Association for Persons with Albinism, when Mohammed Kamar they join we. instead from Freetown.
Wow.
So we get, but we self forget within we self one for town now, all take care and cabo all this good work where we all they do. But over to you, man.
Thank you.
All right, so quickly, today, by the grace of God, it's not to say because the ministry really serious, they're not going to even engage we or collaborate with we for bring this information. Because now one for level 4 have faith people. All have faith people. See, I would have got my way to report them now. So we all have faith people then, you know, especially faith leaders, reverend, evangelist, sheikh, imam, al-haji, the priest, and all the call now leaders, priests, and even the other people like the priests, different pastors, you know, different faith. So, quick one, we want to go straight to the main speaker for today. And after the main speaker, we'll get 5 minutes exercise. With a concept into 4, we go into 5 minutes exercise. And then we get like one small thing for just send goes on and it's like it end. But before we end, we order for Greece and we order for Greece. So today I answer with me, somebody is going to accept. I would like to do. Alan, you might first. Mute you might. Somebody, I want to all mute my mic then. Thank you. Thank you very much. At least we thank you. You see what we all here we say. That one day, you know, you don't change up. So we thank God for technology. But if we all get an idea today, and we see that we all really want to make this business go, one person way now in the, as I been talked before, now the center of the whole ministry arrangement we come from professional work with outsiders and insiders. Now the middleman and the middlewoman. So not to other person, a person we don't work for this ministry for long years. Now person we in a mama for all the social workers all over. Now mama for even Boku group the way we all the work there. Now person we let for see the reality happen. They let me let you call and be ready for answer you. And also now that man go and call and me let you. Not that. Now person we also really serious about what they do. And from that day, he said, Reverend, God day, all things will come out fine. And from that day, he said, all the people that we want, tell me, I will give you them. And indeed, he give it all. When we see them, they see fine, I see the work there, light they go on. It don't even put standby generator, in case lights go off. So now, first way you see, say, he really mean business in art, and he want to support this strong work with the minister they do with the rest of the staff, not for any other person. Now, Chief Mariatu. Now let's push your hands together. Now in the desk for now the senior and officer. Is it the senior, the chief, senior chairman, chief of social officer? You know, but now we chief because they are going to shout chief. And that's making color. So now he will give me the main talk for today, and then we'll get 5 minutes after. Thank you, ma'am. I don't know why
Great. Thank you very much, Reverend Martha. Of course, I'll be doing this in English and of course Creole, it's subject in Creole. All protocols observed, but specifically Reverend Martha Chigozie and international speakers, Madam Alima, thank you very much. Our faith leaders, the security personnel that are here, our ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon, in the afternoon. Of course, let me commend Reverend Martha and Madam Alima too, especially for putting this together. I remember when Reverend Martha was coming to my office, she was all agile, eager for this to happen today. And of course, with the support of the ministry, we are able to make this happen, able to make it become a reality. Thank you very much for your efforts. Let me again, on behalf of the minister who cannot make it to this program, she's in McKinney presently.
attending another program. But she's with us. She's happy that this is happening. And of course, we know that at the end of the day, she will give all the support that is needed. Let me join the various faith leaders who are here today to take part in this dialogue to stop gender-based violence and rape. I'm very, very happy to see you, our leaders, our faith leaders, be it the Rastafarian, our Muslim leaders, Christians, I don't know whether the Judaism, they are here, and all of them are here. I want to commend you. You have done a very good job. I think this is a spirit for us to actually tackle SGBV in this country. I'm very happy to see other organizations, interfaith organizations, sitting together. For other countries, it's difficult for this to happen. It's very difficult bringing interfaith people together. It's very difficult. But you are here today. I'm so happy to see sitting together to look at GBV issues, which is happening in most communities. And of course, in most communities, they see it as a taboo. It's a taboo to discuss GBV issues. It's a taboo in some communities to discuss rape. It's a taboo to discuss FGM. It's a taboo to discuss child marriage. And these are the things that are eating up our society. These are the things that are making women, less valuable in society, less productive. And they're affecting women, the very fabric of our society, women. When women want to do something, how we do it? We do it to perfection. Just look at this program that is happening. What is happening now? I'm so happy for this to happen. As today marks the start of this period of activity, coming together has shown that we have to use the multi-sectoral approach. Without this approach, we will want to come together in order to work for address SGBV. If we all not come together as one, it won't work. But I'm happy to see us all as one coming together to address this issue. And this one, as I said, is eating the fabric of our society. As faith leaders, you have a critical role to play in ending SGBV. You have shown before how you can do it. Let's look at the war in Sierra Leone. The war, what's happened? You helped, you supported the dialogue to bring peace in Sierra Leone. And that is so critical. We know you can do it as leaders. You just, your pulpit, just say it. When you're standing on your pulpit, say it, and things will happen. We'll see the difference. This, as I'm speaking, I don't know whether it has happened, but this is like almost the first time yes, this is happening. Yes. And we're happy. When we look at Ebola, remember Ebola, what's happened? We lost so many of our compatriots. But when the faith leaders took the bull by the horn, then we saw the downward trend in Ebola. People in communities took the bull by, because this is one thing that we learned, during the Ebola, that's the community approach. We're using our religious leaders, using our people to address these issues. We yield, good fruits instead of, people coming from outside wanting to do what we can do within our communities. So I believe as faith leaders, you have that critical role to play. And of course, your influence, you have the influence. Don't look at yourself as a mere man or mere women. No, you have the influence. You can persuade people. So use those expertise, use those influence to make sure that our women, our girls are protected within the communities. For some leaders, like FS woman just said, they, in terms of compromise, people go to them, oh, this has happened, as so God say. Not also God say, as Sheikh Mumba was, not also God say, oh, for let go abuse begin, or woman, or even economic rights, they take them from man. Not also God not say so. God not say so at all. God say, at least, yes, woman, yes, so they say, so people remain and waiting. But God not say for go forcefully rape the woman, forcefully do not, for treat woman well, give her the courage, help her, for like, it's a feel like mortal man. Because man, if one look at woman, say, to mortal man, not to say, me, family, but being a mortal man, anytime woman puts on better did it. Anytime woman puts on better did it. So now that makes me say, as men, we try to protect women and we girls. And then I for begin, not to just for woman off. No, One baby, that girl picking, get the relevant support where he need for let it grow up or become productive. Yeah. Then also, as a country, Sierra Leone, we don't make focus strides. We have done a lot to make sure that we end SGBV. First among them, we have the laws. We have passed so many laws. Although we have a little problem with implementation, we have passed so many laws and policies, right? Enacted them, like the Child Rights and the Sexual Offences Act, which has now very stiff penalties. You know, if a man commits offense, there are very stiff penalties, but even there, yet people are still doing it. But we know that at the end of the day, with your support, we bring that menace to an end. We have the 116 hotline, which is very, very good, and people are using it. Like the FSU, if you can tell your clients that there is a 116 hotline, that they can use it to report cases of SGBV. And of course, our one-stop centers, as Mr. Ketso mentioned, the one-stop centers, the Rainbow Initiative, they are all there to give support to our survivors, to our girls and women. And the model courts, this has never happened. It's a unique one in the history of Sierra Leone. There is a model court that is a fast-track court that handles this issue and make sure that perpetrators are brought to book. And of course, the FSU has been since 2002, 2003, and we are collaborating well with the FSU as a ministry to ensure that this menace is put to an end. And of course, our dear First Lady, the Hands Off Our Girls initiative, that's a very laudable venture. And I want all of us as faith leaders to support that venture, because it's in the community. When we talk about bringing SGBV to an end, the prevention aspect is very key. We should sensitize. We should have lead the community engagement within our community. Take ownership of them. Take ownership of them. We take ownership because we need to prevent before it happens. Prevention is a very powerful tool. Let's prevent before. That's my watchword. Let's prevent before the incident happens. If we prevent, we say this during our sermons. We say this during our discussions in our cafeteria, during your meeting. We said it. I think this will bring an end to SGBV. And another very big thing that this government has done, setting up a presidential task force to address SGBV. This is we have given it the prominence that it deserves. The prominence that women deserve, the prominence that our girls deserve, we have given it. So the president himself is in charge of this task force. And we meet on a monthly basis to see what strides we have made. How have we addressed issues of SGBV in our various communities, in our various offices, in our various ministries, our various centers? How have we addressed these issues? So it's very much important that our leaders, with their great influence, can do. However, as I'm speaking, maybe there is a rape incident present. Let's move out. Let's just don't sit in a cocoon or wait for them to report. Let's move out. The sensitization, the awareness raising, the radio discussions. Let's move out of our cocoon. The leaders might go, oh, okay, as faith leaders, we are going to SLBC today to have a discussion on SGBV issues, prevention of SGBV. These are the initiatives that we can take, not just on doing the sermons, but we can go to the radio, go to communities, you know, so to give us a support. We have also as a strength, which is, of course, religious tolerance. I've actually emphasized that can help us a lot, and this can hold us together. And also, your relevance cannot be overemphasized. Our religious leaders, our faith leaders, the relevance cannot be overemphasized. You are very, very key. You are very key, and your support in all of this will make the mark for our children and our women and girls. You are the first responders. Like, for example, for the psychological first aid, you provide psychological first aid, so people, they meet you. But before providing that, let us ensure that we prevent. Prevention should be our watchword. Let's devise a strategy to prevent SGBV. And of course, as religious leaders, teenage pregnancy is all over. We see it on a daily basis. We see child marriages. Some of you are the very ones that conduct these marriages, you know. you conduct the ceremony. Please, let's try to put an end to that. If a child is not, if there is a child that is brought to you for marriage, please don't do it. Don't do it at all, because you are contravening the laws of Sierra Leone. As government, we are ready to give you all the support. We are ready to give you the support at any time. We have created the platform. Even you being here shows that we are ready to give the support that is needed. The doors of the minister, it's open. You can come at any time to discuss this issue. My door is open at any time for us to discuss this issue. And I hope we are not going to leave it on this table. Whatever we learned here, we are going to take it. Let's propagate it. Let's talk about it in our corners, in our homes, with our girls that we have at home, because it starts from the home. With our girls, the imams will have children, boys, girls, but let's give the girls the prominence they deserve, because that's where it all starts. This gender issue, that's where it starts. They will say, oh, you are a girl, you should not do this. You are a boy, you should do this. Okay, let me educate the girl and leave the boy. You see how women are excelling now. In fact, most people, you know, he say, some man say, before I born the president, now I born the president in West. So let's born the president in West. That president in West, they go able for nurture. As long as you don't learn, you don't educate, you know, they're not put up on early marriage, they're not put up on teenage pregnancy, that it will make a difference at the family. And as long as they go till they build, you know, good families, where communities and go safe. And even the boys say, because now we are talking about this, but let's talk to our boys, who boy picking them. Now, what we are seeing a rise in rape and sexual penetration among young people. Young people as young as 16, 15. You know, the boys are perpetrating, you know, abusing the girls. I mean, the figures are telling us. I believe my colleague Keto, will attest to this, that the boys, yes, we have the men, but the boys, what they are doing now is not good. Let us educate them. And there's a law, mind you, there's a law. Before now, the penalty was much lower for children committing that, but now it's very stiff. Picking the way they commit and boy picking, you go abuse girl picking. The law they owe, then they jail you. Then they jail you. So let me not say because they're small picking, you don't go, oh, we bail, let we talk and no. And also there is something else to admonish us on, bringing our children up. Let girls and boys, don't leave them together in a room for them to sleep. These are the petty things that, you know, we don't know. Those small things they are. You go like, okay, but my sister, and I go leave them. This is not good. It's not good for me. So as parents, as faith leaders, as families, let me understand that they are not good. They are not good for us. They are not good. Government is ready to give all the support. We are providing the environment. We are ready to work with the CSOs to make a better Sierra Leone. On that note, as we are going, let's embark on prevention. Let's prevent SGBVs, the sexual gender-based violence. Let's work hard. Let's make strides. Let's go to the four corners, the communities, the street corners, the junctions. Let's talk about this and ensure that our girls, our women are safe. And also the younger boys. Because now you are talking, I remember the other day, Reverend Martin was telling me about men abusing little boys. Yes, it's starting. It's, you know, pulling its ugly head up, bringing it up. That is happening. So let's be careful. For all those of us that have little boys, our grandchildren, our children, let's be careful. And of course, my imams, I know Sheikh Kumba is vocal. I mean, he don't hide these things. My imams, my priests, the fathers, the reverends, the Muslim women, please, let's talk about this in our various meetings and let's make sure that this comes to an end. On that note, I want to thank you, and I hope that all of us will work together for the common good of our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chief. Over to you, Reverend. I think you should thank our Minister, Deputy, for joining us. And over to you, Reverend. Are you there? Oh, yes.
Thank you very much. Yes. Again, we are all put your hands together for chief. And these are real chief. When they say chief, now somebody when they in charge. In the way you call them the paramount, the center button. So social welfare, if you know what better, we want something. Fenamo. If you fena not see, call them or say that I don't happen and not see, we they go fena. But now possible when they let anything we don't attend to be that we put your hands together for a meeting. If you 101 work today, but by all 101 work, this why I put a number 1. From where they check, they check. But boy, they left you also they ask, what they go on, how they go on. Say they reach now, and if can I have to put them, if we can watch, we go back to my office, if they can watch, you know, for no number that I would have come. So let me class back program for that.
And we really want for thank you, ma'am, because for let's say if you go give we this space and for let we go get the courage for do this event now because we know say the ministry support we. For let people then go now because they know say the ministry they support we for support we serve. So from the bottom of my heart, as much as I did London, I wish I did under right now for thank you. This now small work where we they begin. But you get long way for go and we go always need your support. So not lock the domote to would they take the spare key. We will come back to the office.
Before we split it to a group big one, because we don't have group anymore, we all go home. But before they go take group picture and do. You know, we get really something more we take to manage as family. Because this now we all as family as happy. You will just join, we will not know. We not get nobody will couple. Are they talking about journalists and on our life? When I write down this is one day, we not get nobody will couple for say this couple now so it go, now so it go. The 4 group exist so they don't have I will only do one you for let we able make banner, this, make all them book there, bring water. So anything they do manage and so. If I forget it's by right, now we want to that even for let me see happen 2 of us. Next time, now we all go for waiting. For now go village to village. Because if we not grab it now, Papa go back for me all. The 2 things I want to let them know. Please, our people from there, we are going to groups. But before we go into groups, 2 emergency things. Our listeners from abroad. 1, the FSU and the Ministry of Social Welfare. All our partners that are government, ministry, departments, and agencies that are working with against SGBV. And so many other abuses and neglects are really, really under-supported. I want to echo my voice. So partners, let us be thinking about this because it is a challenge for FSU not to get a hotline. It is a challenge, you know, and even with the Ministry of Social Welfare, there are some challenges, but we'll talk about that. But there is need for partners to support these main ministries that are dealing with the welfare of women and children, the elderly, the people with disability, everybody. Let us remember that. Let us remember that because we cannot achieve a goal if the tools are not properly available. True of course. We are also going to be making use of their social workers because she gave me that full assurance. In every district, their social worker will be with us. From one district to the other, on for that day. So, but we cannot be going and getting people at our back. Because even for us, without giving you water, we will say, well, our task they don't give you. Even though they tell me, I say, nobody not fund me. But we don't know that. They say, oh, okay, our task they don't give you. That is how we are. So we have to think about a long-term plan for a better achievement in making sure we have this impactful, sustainable program. Because it must be sustainable. Chief Pomba, that one they waste up you not like you. Now you know they go to the rest of the other one. Why hang the other priest? I hang the other father, carry it as an overture. So I will want in the group, Caritas, you're going to head one group for me because we're going to split. You 2 Caritas cannot be in one group. Please. We want us to be in different groups. The military people, I have 3 here, so we're going to go into 3 groups. We don't want all of us to be in one group. But before we go, our pastors, can they just say something quickly because we will not have opportunity for them. Our pastors, all the Christians, can you come on? Christians that are here. What I mean, Christians, female clergy, the one that ordained one, not to all the one where they say Christian. Ordained ones. Madam. Quickly, just come and let's just say hi to all those who are watching at home. So what's your name, ma'am?
Reverend is a responsive.
Which church, ma'am?
From Holy Ghost Temple of Faith, also from Teddy Hoga.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Can you greet all the families around there?
Yeah. Hello, Reverend Lieutenant Agnes K. Bondi.
From where?
Representing the chaplaincy, Republic of China.
Oh, when I see una face, so we una team up.
Office of the yes, and also Office of the Gender and Equal Opportunities of the Council.
Wow, so she's representing two main things here.
Yes.
She's a soldier, military, soldier, you know, soldier. So she's from the military, the Republic of Sierra Leone Army. Actually, this is our group I've been working with for the past 20-something years. I work with all the security sector. So don't see me like this. I will tell you my age. Forget about that. So at the end of the day, she is representing the chaplain unit. She is an ordained reverend. She has a ministry, and she is also representing the gender and equal opportunity. She works with the gender unit as well in the military. So can you put your hands together for that?
My name is the Pastor Hundi Musudubuya.
Okay.
I'm representing the Dayspring Evangelical Church Morrington.
Dayspring Evangelical, she's a pastor, an ordained pastor. So thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor and Reverend and Elizabeth. Thank you, Reverend Bondi. These are people we are working with. The Muslim men, are you here? Or the military? Are you any military Muslim? Yes. Please come and get. Okay, please come. Quickly. No, just the military. Because you have introduced all the other Muslims. So we don't want the other military men to start coming out. Because I'll be going around them, you know. Come. What's the name again, sir?
My name is Alhaji Swalubo Kuruma.
Okay.
From Afla Imam Department.
Thank you, sir. Put your hands together for him. Our Imam prayed this morning, yes.
I'm W2 Span Kamara, Chief Imam Moriton Barras.
Thank you. Great. So this is to tell you that our communities are not forgotten. We say leave no one behind. So our albino brother that is watching it, don't worry. We all have you in mind. Our disability, people with disability of all kinds. We work with them, the dumb, the lame. We work with everybody, educated, illiterate, all of us. We work together. So we want. Sorry? Yeah. We will take a snapshot. Okay. She'll come back. So she'll come back. Sorry. We are just having some small. Sorry about that. We are sorry. You know, we are in our community. You know, families. We do things as families. So forgive us there. We are all enjoying the whole program, and not only enjoy, we are very, very serious about this issue. So we will count ourselves 1 to 3, 1 to 3, 1 to 3, please. And then we divide one group there, one group here, and the one group remain here, where Chef Kumba is. So you two cannot be in one group, you three cannot be in one group. That is definite. So 1 to 3, 1 to 3, all the ones there, all the twos here, all the threes here. I don't want all the chefs to be in one group. That one, all the chefs cannot be in one place. All the chefs cannot, no. Sorry. We don't want all the chefs in one place. Yes. All right. Okay. So all the ones there. Who's that rest the number 1? All the number 1 then. Okay, let me count for you now. 1, 2, 3. All the ones there. 1, 2, 3. All the twos here. All the ones there. 1, 2, 3. 1 there, 2 there, 3 kaya. 1, 2, 3. 1 boya, 2 boya, 3 kaya. 1, 2, 3. 1 boya, 2 boya, 3 kaya over here. You, madam, go by here. The last one there. Now you bet. 1, 2, 3. 1 they go on there, 2 they come here, 3 they come over here. 1, 2, 3. 1 they come over here, 2 they go yonder. 1 they go yonder, 2 they come here, and then 3 they come over here. 1, 2, 3. 1 they go over yonder, 2 they come here, 3 come over here. 1, 2, 3 they come over here, mama. Now, number what you be? Come over here. Number what you be, madam? You go to the place. What's the number? Number 1, I under. Una take share the number. Una take share. 1, 2, 3. We don't put group down there. Group 1. Oh, and number 1 see also. All this number 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Come on, people. 1, 2. Over here. 3. Mama number 3. Come. Pastor. Okay, we don't count you. 1, 2, 3. You don't count. 1, 2, the third person. Number 1, come here. Number 2, come here. Number 3.